Yes, there is. Pay attention. It's up, it's down, there's polarity. It just changes a lot. Now, if we plug it back in, everything's safe and clear. Now, we won't get an arc here, and we will get an arc over there. Nothing. We get an arc on the case, so it is hot. Now, if I go over here, we get an arc, and it's a big, beautiful arc. Look at that. 120 milliamps of raw surging energy. Raw! At the speed of a Coulomb. Yes, it's very mighty. It's very manly. Now, unplug, safe, everything is good. If you need to hook up, say, another NST, you just do the exact same thing again. Because now you know these two are in phase. So you grab your next NST, you slide it over, and these are both the exact same transformers, so it'd be pretty obvious that it'd be straight across. And you phase this one and get it where you want it, and then you do the next and the next. And the only limit to how many of these you can hook together is how many amps your wall power supply can feed. I mean, you could have 1,000 of these in a row. And if you're really good, you can actually have one plug that goes to the first bank of 3 or 4, another separate plug off another separate circuit going to another bank, and you could have pole pig power with NSTs. It can be done. People have done it. The biggest I've ever done, I think, was 7. We had, back around 2001, we had 7 of these in a row. But that's the basics of it. That's how to phase NSTs. Now some basic safety that you need to know. Because we're on the internet, we watch YouTube, and those of us who have been playing with this stuff for a few years, we get on there and we see these kids that are like 15 years old playing with 10 kVA pole pigs in their garage, and they have no idea what they're doing. Start with NSTs. Please, guys, for the love of God, play with NSTs, because the pole pigs are insanely dangerous. Even stuff that looks relatively safe, like these. This is a MOT, a microwave oven transformer, MOT. These are nasty little bastards. Okay, they're not current limited. They are kind of, yeah, I know they got shunts in them, but effectively, they're not current limited. And the fact that the voltage is low kind of tricks people into thinking they're safer than they really are, because they don't have big high voltage bushings on them. I mean, you can see there's the low voltage winding there and the high voltage winding here, and the output is just a little spade terminal, and then it's center grounded. But these things will kill you. There's easily enough current in one of these things to really mess you up. So until you know what you're doing, these aren't for noobs. Okay, these are great. You can put them in 4-packs and 6-packs under oil, rock out, have like a little mini pig. Cool, they're good. And if you want to learn about them, write in, we'll do videos on them. But start with NSTs. They're ubiquitous, they're simple, they're safe. I mean, even if you have to buy one, they're only like $100. It's not a big deal. Now, NSTs only put out 60 milliamps at most. You'll find rare ones that are up higher. You get into the cold cathode stuff. But as a rule, 60 milliamps is the biggest you're going to find. Some things you need to know. If stuff is hot, put a hand in your pocket. Okay? There's pretty much no reason you should ever have to work on one of these hot, ever. But when stuff's hot, put a hand in your pocket. Because if you touch something hot that's fed off this, and it goes in your hand, you're going to go, ow! And you're going to remember it, and you're going to cry like a little girl, and you might pee down your leg a little bit, and your mom's going to come around down going, you okay? And everybody will make fun of you. But if you do it with 2 hands, and you reach out and go, bzz, then it doesn't go in your arm and down and out your foot. It goes up your arm and across your heart and out the other side. You know those guys on the table that they go, clear! Yeah, you'll do that. The whole porpoise thing off the table, you'll do that. Don't do that, because usually you only get to do that once. If you're working on this stuff and you're hanging out, in your garage or in your basement workshop or whatnot, have a buddy around. Okay, whenever you're playing with high voltage, have a buddy around. Even if it's just somebody to hang out and, get Mountain Dew out of the fridge, have a buddy around. You'll live longer, especially when you start playing with the big stuff. There's a million more safety things I could touch on, but those are the ones I really, really wanted to hit you guys with up front. We're going to do a video dedicated to safety. In the meantime, for your homework project, I want you to go to pupman.com, P-U-P-M-A-N.com. Pupman is a fabulous resource if you're into learning about Tesla coils. These guys are awesome. The absolute cutting, bleeding edge of Tesla coil technology happens on Pupman. This is 1,500 guys who are the absolute state of the art. It's filled with some of the most amazing, patient, brilliant engineers you will ever meet in your life. You will meet people on there that you will be friends with for the rest of your life. They're awesome guys. Go there. Use it. The Geek Group, of course, is another great resource, and a lot of people on Pupman are members of the Geek Group. Membership in both is free. If you're not a member of the Geek Group, you should be. Go to www.thegeekgroup.org. Check us out, fill out a become a member thing, sign up, get involved, get in the forums, have fun, get girls. It's cool like that. But go to Pupman, and they have a safety fact. And it's right here. I printed it out, okay, because I cheat. They've got really good data here, and I pull some notes off it. It's at pupman.com/safety.htm. Go there. Read every single word. Some of it's wrong. Some of it is a little outdated. The stuff on skin effect, yeah, it's kind of hinky. But we'll cover that in one of our upcoming videos, and we'll go into the details on how safety works and all that jazz. Something just occurred to me. When I hooked those up and phased them, I didn't... Look at me trying to pick it up by the high voltage bushings. When I hooked these up, I didn't actually get a 120 milliamp arc because I never connected them together. I can't cheat people like that. I'm going to have 50 people writing in being like, that was a 120 milliamp spark. They weren't actually connected together. You're an idiot. You don't know anything about high voltage. I'm in front of 2 different cameras right now. Shut up, okay? I'm a little distracted. So here, we'll do it. We'll make you an actual 120 milliamp arc so that you can see the difference. And then we'll do some really slick editing, and we'll make a single arc. I just connected the front. I didn't do the back. Work a lot better if I had my probe, wouldn't it? I got the cup. I'll do it on this side. I got washers over here. It makes it easier. But we'll do some nifty editing showing the first spark and the second spark, and you can see the difference. But let's talk a little bit about volts and amps. Now this is hot right now. Now volts are what make the spark jump farther when it first starts. So to get 2 things to arc at 20,000 volts, they got to be this far apart. But at 50,000 volts, you can bring them in and boom, they go about here. Okay, so that's voltage. Voltage is the push. Voltage is potential difference. Now amperage is the oomph. If you think of it like water in a pipe, voltage is the pressure, so how far the hose will shoot. Amperage is the current. It's the volume. It's how much water is moving through the hose in X amount of time. So we've got 12,000 volts. So if I bring this in, we'll do it up front so you can see it. Now I'll come in from the side. Now that's the little Wheatley 60 milliamp arc. And I can pull it out about an inch and it dies. Okay? So now I'm going to disconnect this. Safety. Cool. And I'm going to connect both of these transformers together. And we'll go from 60 milliamps up. Because in arcs, how many amps you have equates out, when you're dealing with arcs and sparks, to how far you can draw the arc out. Now, high voltage sparks are loud, crackly, bristly arcs, like a Tesla coil. High current arcs are fiery, thick, hissy arcs. Now watch this. Now we'll do it right there. See how I can drag that out about twice as far now? We'll try it right off the electrode. It's hard to see. Isn't that great? Look at that. And it's so hot it's melting my wire. That's fabulous. Now we'll disconnect that. Safe. We're good. So yeah, that's how to phase an NST and some basics on high voltage safety. If you guys have any questions, write them in to info@thegeekgroup.org. Check out thegeekgroup.org, be a member, hang out, meet girls, meet other weirdo science guys like us. And yeah, come on down to the lab sometime and play, because this is what we do. So you guys have fun. I'm Chris Bowden. I'll talk to you later. We're going to get back to work. See ya.
Six-time Grammy Award winner Phil Collins is here. He first came to America's attention as the lead singer of the band Genesis. Between his time spent with them and his own very successful solo career, he has sold more than 200 million albums. His latest CD is called Hits and features 15 of his most successful songs. Your appearance on this program, we've been asked for you to do this for a number of years. Not every day.
No one told me.
But you didn't know.
No.
And just tell me the story.
Oh, no, well, I guess it was when I was last in New York for the Live by Request program we did. I was here for about a week, and I turned on one night, and Steve Martin, who I'm a huge fan of, was on the show. And he was reading from his book, you know. But he started, well, I joined the conversation just as he was talking about why he'd taken that time off to do nothing as opposed to do something. And how he'd, for 3 years, basically, had sort of lied low and not wondering what to do. And I just heard myself talking. It was like someone else putting very eloquently the way I felt about my life, you know. Because you do reach these points, and maybe that's one of the reasons why the records come out, because these things are usually a full stop at the end of the sentence before you turn a new page. Anyway, so I asked for a tape of the show so I could see this again to make sure that this wasn't my imagination, and I gave it to my manager to listen to. I said, listen, he puts it so much better,
yeah.
You know. And I said I'd love to be on the show, and then I was told that you had been requesting for a while, and so, but here we are, and it's lovely. I'm pleased to be here.
I am too. My point is not that you wanted to be on the show, which I'm pleased about, but is to pick up on this idea where you are in your career and why that had so much resonance for you.
Well, you know, there's I'm 47, but I don't think that should make a difference. But it just seems that in music today, and especially when you watch things like the cable music stations, like the MTVs and stuff, I don't really understand some of it, you know. And I guess I'm starting to sound like my father maybe, but I just don't understand some of it. So there are things, there are times when you think, okay, maybe this is the parting of the ways when you don't necessarily fit into that marketplace anymore. Still write songs, of course, still make records, of course, but your other interests, whether it be sitting at home and reading a book, or whether it be doing nothing, or whether it be taking out a big band, which is what I've done twice now in the last 2 years, which is something I want to do, a jazz big band, or writing music for movies, which I'm just in the middle of finishing a Disney movie, but which I'm hoping will lead to some other things. So, you know, your emphasis changes in life, you know, and I think that's probably what's happening to me, just because sometimes you feel that you're not actually, if this is what's popular, I can't compete with this, I don't want to compete with this. This is something...
Not what I want to do.
No. And I've always done what I want to do.
And you're finding your way as to what you want to do, or how you express what you want to do in a new or different way?
Well, I'm fortunate in as much as everybody's always expected anything from me. So whether I'm acting, whether I'm producing some off-the-wall act, or whether I'm playing drums behind someone and not singing at all, they've always kind of not been surprised when I turn up in various places. So I've been lucky with that. So I'm realizing some dreams of mine with the big band, and also, you know, more recent ambitions of writing film music. I mean, the big band dream goes back 30 years for us, first of all, Buddy Rich, but it's those things, you know, things come into focus in your life and other things go out of focus. And I think that there are the things that are coming into focus and not necessarily playing in that same marketplace that I have been playing in the last 20, 25 years. I mean, I'm still, you know, I'm flattered. This record has done fantastically well across the world, and that is great stuff. You know, I'm not opting out completely, but it's just, I'm philosophically resigned to whatever happens now.
And comfortable with that.
Absolutely, yeah.
What's interesting, it exactly parallels what Steve Martin said, because he had reached a point where he didn't want to make the kind of movies he was making, and was figuring out exactly what he wanted to do, the kind of movies he wanted to make, and how he, you know, would take a different turn.
The public do see this. You see, I mean, one of the things he said, and it was quite interesting, was you never admit to it at the time, but you know, you do things. You probably do certain things for career moves. Sure. You know, And you're not, it takes a while for you to be able to admit that they were that, but, you know, suddenly the audience can suss that out, I think. And I think they can also tell when you really love something and there's something, you're actually doing something that you mean and doing something that you love. And for example, with this big band thing, we did a 3-week tour of America, 3-week tour of Europe, and every night people would come up and say, you guys, and you feel like, look like you're having a fantastic time, you look so happy. And it really comes off the stage and it makes you want to watch, it makes you want to listen, because you can feel something happening here that's, you know, done with conviction, you know.
And it was your idea?
The big band thing? Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, as I say, it's something that I wanted to do since
Buddy Rich.
Yeah, since 1966, when I heard him play with his new big band at that time. And as a drummer, which I have been since I was 5 years old, that's what I wanted to, that was my life, drums. And so this was suddenly another environment to maybe play in one day. Because in my kind of view of my overview of the life at the time was, I was acting in Oliver, but that was really only until I got old enough to be a professional musician, because I was playing from the age of 5. So, you know, and I went home with some of the pit musicians, and so I knew that it was possible to play until you were 65 or something. So I kind of did the pop thing till that fades out, then I'll maybe be in a big band, and then I'll probably end up my life in the pit of an orchestra for a musical. You know, that's the way
I doubt it, but
that's the way I figured it out.
But the evolution has. The movie. What movie are you doing the score for?
This is Tarzan, which is Disney's latest animated feature. It'll be out in June. It's animated. Yeah. And I'm doing this. I've written the songs and lyrics for that film, which is something I've never done before. I've done the song at the end of the movie. I've done that 3 or 4 times, but this is actually writing songs for the story, to move the story along. And, you know, they're taskmasters, Disney, but I've had a great time working with them.
Let me talk a little bit about this. What, of these songs, whether it is Another Day in Paradise, True Colors, Easy Lover, You Can't Hurry Love, Two Hearts, I Wish It Would Rain Down Against All Odds, Something Happened on the Way to Heaven, Separate Lives, Both Sides of the Story, One More Night, Dance Into the Light, A Groovy Kind of Love, Into the Air Tonight, Take Me Home. One that means more to you than the other?
No.
No.
Don't like any of them.
Yeah.
No, the... well,
says
no,
hits there.
Yeah. Well, no, it's they're all there for different reasons, you know. I mean, obviously they're all there because the people liked them. Yeah. That's why they were hits. And some of those songs were more pivotal to my career than others. I mean,
what's the most pivotal here?
Well, In the Air Tonight was probably, which is the first on my first solo record, and that was the one that really brought me to people's attention. And it was a mysterious song, and I think that's probably one of the pivotal moments in, because coming from Genesis, you know, and I had this very strong, Genesis had a very strong image of progressive rock band, and I was doing something very different, and In the Air Tonight kind of, you know, it put me on the map. So,
what do you think the most courageous thing you've ever done as an artist is? I mean, what was the most difficult thing for you? I mean, was it leaving Genesis? What was it? Well,
I mean, when I left, for me, leaving Genesis wasn't really that difficult a decision. I mean, I had been with the band since 1970, and I left in '93. Yeah. You know, that's a long time, you know, and people tend to forget that.
23 years.
Yeah. And it wasn't really, the news wasn't released really until 95, 96, when they had a replacement and they had decided what they wanted to do. So it's 23, 24, 25 years worth of being in the same place, loving it, having ups and downs, but generally loving it. But, you know, I can't understand why people in my position don't actually go out there and sample all the other stuff that's out there, that actually sit in one place. And I can't do that, you know. I mean, I will try everything, and I will sometimes fall flat on my face, you know. Things will be successful, things will not be.
Is there anything else artistically you've always wanted to do? I mean, that you have, from the time that you began in music, said, whatever else I do, other than the big band, other than perhaps being a solo
Yeah, well,
artist.
That was never on the cards either, you know. I mean, it's all a, you know, succession of happy accidents, really. But
it takes its own evolution.
Yeah. There are people that are... It's great to be able to work with people that you once viewed as you know, you were fans of, and then suddenly you get into a situation whereby you can actually contribute to their career. I mean, like producing friends, people that were friends, like Eric Clapton, for example. I produced 2 records for him, and I remember waiting at a bus stop, waiting to go home to my semi-detached in Hounslow with my mum and dad, while he and Cream were playing at this club in Hounslow where I live. And then suddenly 20 years later, you're producing the record. And so those kind of things have been great opportunities, you know, that, and they you know, I've played with most of my heroes, but things that I've wanted to do, I've tended to make happen.
Happen.
Well, you know, I mean, it was the big band, for example, was something that I just said, now is the time. I'm ready for this. I wouldn't have been ready for it 10, 15 years ago. I'm ready for it now, and I worked very hard at it.
True Colors was produced by Babyface?
Yeah.
Now, do you learn anything there? I mean, here's a guy who's huge as a producer as well as a performer.
That's right. I mean, I thought recently I questioned my own ability to produce myself. You know, and I've always made my own records and produced my own records because I think that it's me. I'm writing the songs, and who else? Anybody else's interpretation of what I think I want will be an interpretation. And I've always said it's a bit like an artist that will. If I was an artist and I said, "Will you put a bit of blue up there?" Yeah. No, not there. There. You know, you get up and you do it yourself. So it's an interpretation. So I worked with Babyface on this song, True Colors, because it wasn't my song, which kind of freed me from those kind of blinkered attitude in a way. And I've worked with George Martin and Arif Mardin and Quincy Jones and some great producers on neutral ground. But whether I would actually trust anybody
with your song,
with my songs, is something that I've yet to test. Because I actually love the idea of walking away from it and saying, you know, I know that you do it your way. I've done my bit, now you do it. Yeah. But in the end, you end up with you end up being given a picture that just doesn't look quite the way you thought it was going to look. And so consequently, I've always produced myself. But this was an interesting experiment to see if, you know, I mean, my last 2 records were kind of, for me, I mean, artistic successes for me, especially both sides, which was all me, you know, done at my home. It was all a real homemade album. But, you know, you start to question whether you are your own best producer, whether sometimes you can't see the wood for the trees, you know.
Is songwriting easy for you?
No, every record is like starting again, really. Which is actually harder than starting again because you've already done this body of work.
Yeah, that's right. It is harder because you can be measured against that, you've already done that, and you want to do something different.
Right. That's right. Yeah, I mean, after my first record, I just thought, well, that's it. You know, how can I possibly do another one?
I've got one record in me, and that's it.
That's it. Well, everybody's first record, you know, if you're a songwriter, is usually pretty good because it's a collection of songs that have been around maybe for a year or 2 and you haven't had any other outlet, so you just bring out the best on one record, and then suddenly all the good stuff's gone, and now you've got to see if you're a songwriter, you know.
You care about critics?
Yeah, but I'm getting better. I'm getting better at it.
Better at what way?
Better at realizing that the man on the street, the real person, if he is touched by what I do, and I'm no more special than he is, then that is what's most important. Actually, one of the things that came to me with this record was when I put it together, you know, in an order, and then of course they go away and they compile the songs, and then they press a CD and they send it to you and to sort of see if the order's right. And that's the only real time I've listened to it. And I listened to it, and at the end of it, after years of being browbeaten by sort of believing what you read, and it's impossible not to believe what you read. After a time, it starts to become part of yourself, you know. You are this person. You are short. You are balding. You are stocky. You are middle of the road. You are this. You are that. And after a while, you start to sort of, it begins to enter into your own mind that well, of course, that's probably what I am. You know, there's nothing I can do about it.
Right.
And then when I listened to this, at the end of it, I thought, this is good. This is good. You know, this is a body of work I should be proud of, for God's sake. You know, stop whipping yourself.
Are you there?
Oh, yeah. Yes,
and
I am.
When did you get there?
Well, that response was a matter of weeks ago.
Really? In other words, it was only when you began to listen to these because they presented them to you and said, this is what the CD is going to look like, and you looked and listened to the order and all of that, that you said, well, yeah, all these things that they may be saying about me in terms of some physical manifestation, but when I listen to this music, it's pretty good. And as a body of work, for someone who's had a career in this business, and that's what I am and that's what I do, not bad.
That's right. You know, I mean, it sounds juvenile to sort of be so affected by what people write, but as the years have gone by, I've got an awful lot better at it. You know, I mean, I still, in recent history, probably within the last 5 or 6 years, have called journalists or written to them.
Yes, and what do you say?
Well, the varying degrees
of... Is it kind or is it threatening?
It was never threatening, but it's... I mean, I called a journalist. I called a journalist in Indianapolis once after a Genesis concert.
Yes,
that morning, I read the review because we were leaving town, and he kind of. But the overall impression I get is that I couldn't believe that you'd read it.
Yeah.
And if you read it, I couldn't believe that you'd be bothered by it. And I can't believe that people think that, because it's, you know, you're actually saying you're reacting to someone's work, and whether we all want our work once we've done our work. I mean, you want as many people as possible to enjoy this show.
Yeah.
And
I'm flattered when you watch the show, sure.
Yeah. And I want as many people as possible, once I've written the songs, which are for me, to have an opportunity to hear the music and like it if possible. So when it's, obviously, there are some criticism which is constructive and others which is just, you can read it before the album's even out, because there's, you know, it breeds itself.
Sure. And some people are writing because they have an agenda that has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
It only has to do with their own ambition and their own agenda. So they're doing something that says, look at me rather than look at Phil.
And if you're very successful, and I found this in Germany, for example, where I've had a lot of success in Germany, and of course I don't read German, I don't get the newspapers, so I don't know what's written about me. But it's come to light that there's an awful large undercurrent of critical suspicion, because they can't really believe that anything that sells that much hasn't been manufactured, hasn't been written with the lowest common denominator in mind, you know, because they can't understand how anything of any kind of quality can actually sell that. Yeah.
Produced by committee almost.
Yeah. But I guess that's human nature. We're all suspicious of things that do incredibly well, or, you know, a food chain that, you know, sells millions of hamburgers can't possibly be good for you.
Will there be an album of big band songs from you?
Yep. There'll be a live album in the spring, I hope. We recorded all the European shows. It's just a question of...
What do you do, mix them after you record them for the best of performance of each of the songs?
Yeah, you know, you've got there's some fantastic moments, and then the drummer will make a mistake.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you know, it's usually me. It's usually me, but it was a wonderful experience, and I just want to make a record that sounds like a Count Basie record from that 50s or 60s. You know, it was. We played in Carnegie Hall, and they wouldn't let us record because of the union thing there. Yeah. And this was a very important gig for me. I thought, this is great. You know, first only time I played at Carnegie Hall with my big band. So anyway, they have a microphone above the stage, and I said, just record it with this. And they said, okay, that'll only be $800, you know. So I recorded the show, and I went back to the hotel, and I just having a couple of drinks after the gig, and I just put it on just to see what the sound was like.
Now, this is a tape?
This is a cassette tape.
Right.
But this one mic above the band, and when I heard it, it could have been the sound. It could have been Duke Ellington. It could have been Count Basie. It was the biggest surprise to me. It was the best sounding tape, and it was the way they used to record big bands and orchestras, one mic above the band, because the band creates its own dynamics. Yeah. All you got to do is record it.
Yeah.
You know, you have 48 tracks of this and this and this and this, and there's too many variables. So that's the approach I'm going to take with the big band album. Hopefully it'll be out in the spring. It's great to have you here. I'm very pleased to be here, Charles. Thank you very much, Phil. Phil Collins, this album, this CD is called Hits. The big band live performance will be coming at some time in the future. Thank you for joining us. See you next time.